Okay, so obviously the Stream Awards has been a massive topic whenever it comes to VTubers at the moment, and I kind of wanted to go into something a little bit different, aside from all of the peanut-related drama, right? Again, obviously we've talked about that plenty of times on this channel. If you want to go watch something about that, then that will be up on my channel already. We've talked about it. But I kind of wanted to focus a little bit more on the other side of things and the reactions from other streamers towards VTubers, which I thought wasn't the best, and also the Stream Awards and how they've handled VTubers in general, because aside, as I said, from the BurntPeanut stuff, which again doesn't matter to this situation, it seems like it hasn't, been great for a lot of VTubers. For example, this clip, which blew up massively with over 5.5 million views, of saying Jynxzi was cringing so hard during Ironmouse's painful Stream Awards performance that he fake crushed his stream just so he didn't have to watch. And here it is. And yeah, fake crash, and then you can see he pretty much fake crashed the stream. Now, obviously, he was a little bit drunk during that. He had 6 beers, as you can see there on the counter. But I think that, obviously it's extremely rude for a lot of the people that have been, putting in a lot of effort to the Stream Awards, not only to the Stream Awards itself, because obviously they've chosen these times to perform, but also just to VTubers and Ironmouse in general, right? The performance was good. I don't see any problem with it at all. If anything, it's one of the best performances of the night. If you guys saw the one before that, I mean, there's some people crushing out over that. Even Jynxzi didn't like the performance before that. And I think, honestly, Ironmouse's one was one of the best ones of the night, and essentially saved a lot of what was going on in terms of the vibes of the entire Streamer Awards, right? But again, obviously Jynxzi, decided to fake crash stream, which I thought was, pretty interesting. And I don't know, I think, if you don't like this kind of stuff, I think it's fine. Obviously you don't have to like it. Obviously Ironmouse is very talented with her voice, and so is Marco Meatball as well, who's also included within this, right? But again, you could have done something else. You could have maybe just gone up and went to the toilet while it's playing or whatever, or just pretended to even, just to be a little bit more respectful of what was going on, rather than obviously making faces and stuff at this stream and then pretending to crash it due to the fact that you didn't like it, right? But this isn't the only kind of case of this happening, which we will go into. But obviously Ironmouse actually responded to this with just some laughing emojis, and she actually further said on stream, which I can't find the clip for it, but she did say on stream that she found it funny because it just kind of looked like he was trying not to like shit himself essentially on stream, which I guess was quite funny. But again, I think it is another case of Ironmouse trying to make a positive situation, like we saw with the Peanut stuff, obviously with her response saying that she was cringing at people hating on Peanut, right? I think she just wants things to be positive and doesn't want any kind of backlash to come from this. But yeah, even Mousy said that she found it hilarious, which again, I do think, if she finds it funny, then that's great. But I do think it is a little bit disrespectful, and obviously, luckily for Jynxzi, he's found a nice person who doesn't really care about that kind of stuff. But, you can imagine if it was any other VTuber who maybe cared a little bit more, I don't think he'd be in the best of positions right now. And I like Jynxzi. I think he's a good content creator. I like his content, right? But again, obviously, I feel like there's a little bit of a, not so great. But also, whenever it comes to the Stream Wars itself, this was one of the top things that have been talked about. And I thought this was one of the worst parts, I guess, of the VTubers being presented, alongside the HoloLive stuff, by the way. If you guys saw, they replaced the HoloLive picture with just some random guy who got nominated like a couple of awards before. I thought that was really weird. And again, it was kind of disrespectful to a lot of VTubers. I don't know if that's a mistake by production or on purpose, but again, I think it was still pretty horrible. But then also you had this on top of it, which I thought was pretty horrible as well.
Hey guys.
Obviously, she's presenting the award for VTuber Awards. I don't know who she is, by the way, again.
I'm super excited to present this next award. Ooh. The 5 VTubers in this category worked hard at mastering peak kawaii and ara aura farming. Here are the nominees for Best VTuber.
So yeah, that's her entire speech. Now, there's a lot to unpick from this because, again, it's a 20-second clip, but for example, just the overall demeanor of the presenter itself is crazy. Now, obviously, I know a lot of people are kind of you know, very monotone and don't really like to express their emotions that much. But I think whenever it comes to presenting, you kind of got to like dial it up a little bit, even if you aren't that kind of person, right? Because it just seems like she doesn't care, right? I don't know who she is. I don't know what affiliation she has with VTubers. I don't think she does have any. Again, I'm not sure. No clue who she is, right? But you can even tell, like, it doesn't sound like she's having the best time. She might be having the best time. She might be really enjoying it, right? But also, you know, from what is presented there, it was presented pretty horribly in the sense of, you know, it just looks like she was just, you know, put up there and go, okay, do it. And that's about it, right? And I do think, obviously, that isn't the best. I think that looks pretty bad. And even as well with the kind of whenever they say about the ooh and the kawaii energy and the RRs and stuff like that.
The 5
like this
VTubers in this category worked hard at mastering peak kawaii and
Kawaii.
ada aura farming.
Which again, it's just like it just kind of screams no research. There was like, I don't know if it's on this one. Yeah, I think it was this one. There's a lot of people replying, including Kiara, saying, what do you mean? Mastering my peak kawaii and aura farming is exactly what it's all about. Obviously making a lot of fun of it. And yeah, it is pretty ridiculous that this has even happened in the first place, right? And people saying how ironic when their entire show is a cringe fiesta, said it's pure projection. It makes it all feel like much more funny. They hate VTubers because we are catering to creepy guys for easy money. Think about what all their top female IRL streamers do. So obviously they've been hating on IRL streamers as well. Peach Jars actually adds a very interesting kind of point to this discussion, I guess, in terms of presenters, because obviously we don't know exactly. Some people read stuff off of a screen to kind of present the award. Some people made up their own thing. Some people did it off the fly, right? And yeah, Peach Jar says, I was also a presenter. We chose what to say. No one made us say anything. So it's not like she was stood there and told, hey, you have to say these words and you have to do this. She chose to do that. She chose to say that. And again, not very well. Didn't deliver it very well, right? She also says, I also don't know her super well, but I do know that she's very monotone. Which again, you know, is understandable. Some people are monotone, but like sometimes, you know, if you're presenting something, you just gotta kind of like, you know, look like you care. Sometimes, right? I don't care if you're monotone. I don't care if you know, that's your kind of persona or that's what you're about, right? But you know, maybe just like up it just for like the 20 seconds you got to talk and then you can go back to being monotone, right? Else, maybe don't do the presenting. I don't know if maybe she was picked out and she didn't even want to do the presenting in the first place. I don't know. But if she put her name forwards for that and then ended up with that, you know, I think it's not the best. And I think that, you know, should have been done a little bit better. And it's kind of, yeah, disrespectful to a lot of the VTubers that are putting in so much hard work because they just go, yeah, here's the VTuber award. Anyways, yeah. That's what it felt like, right? Compared to some of the other ones, some of the other awards where people were very excited, you know, even if it was an award that, you know, maybe the person didn't care about or weren't really involved in, they still tried to make it fun, right? Again, as I said, I don't know how much connection she has to the overall kind of VTuber space, if any, right? But even with some of the other awards where people have zero connection, yeah, they tried to make it fun. They didn't just go, oh, well, yeah, I don't really care about this, but yeah, this is the best whatever, and then just like kind of put it out. No, they like made it fun despite, you know, maybe not knowing as much as they do about that space, which I think is totally fine. You know, you're allowed to have a presenter that doesn't know much, but maybe can bring a bit of energy anyways to it. But they provided nothing, right? They provided zero energy at all. As well, there's been so many people as well commenting on the Jynxzi stuff too. Again, it's been a whole kind of car crash in terms of the kind of stuff. People saying it's been a long-known fact that regular streamers are jealous of the mainstream appeal and popularity of VTubing, which again, I do think is kind of true. I think that, you know, obviously VTubers in the kind of, I guess, in the regular space, in the IRL space, has always faced, you know, a lot of scrutiny, I'd say, and a lot of people, I guess, not very happy for whatever reason it may be. I don't know if it's because, yeah, again, as they say, they're jealous. It might not be because they're jealous. It might be because they don't understand it or whatever. But again, I do think some people need to learn how to act in spaces whenever it comes to this kind of stuff. But again, you got people like Savvy as well talking about the incident with the whole announcer saying, holy crap, man, I could not care less, lack of professionalism. And AT&T works with this? The bar is low. Yikes, why are people mad over the VTuber category? Be mad about this. This is someone who hates all of it, given an opportunity to do something cool, and instead of putting out the best, just says screw it. Which, again, is true. I'm sure there's many creators out there, including VTubers themselves, who would have loved to present this kind of category and would have actually, you know, given it a really, really good go. But instead, we got someone that just went, okay, you know, here it is. You know, I don't think it is weird. They said, but Savvy, she's just joking. Says, homies, the delivery, the body language, and the tone. All that, she should have just spit on the ground and said, here's the name, hose. That would have been funnier and still got her disgust across. Which, yeah, I do think it's true, right? Even if this was supposed to be some weird joke where she, you know, wanted to kind of pretend to be, I guess, not interested. First of all, I don't get the joke. That's not a very funny joke. But also, at the same time, yeah, you know, why would you even go through all of that to really get to this point, right? It's crazy. More people as well talking about the fact of Jynxzi as well, going back to that, saying all you need to know about the attitude behind this is that one person, so is that no one criticizing Ironmouse's performance can elaborate on what actually they think is wrong about it objectively, just vague appeals to cringe, accusing Ironmouse of being a man in disguise, or calling it pedophilia. The streaming establishment just hates VTubers, and many can't even seem to elaborate on why, because they don't have the mental capacity to understand their own opinions, which I do think is also partially true as well, right? I think that a lot of people never really bring up the fact of why they think it's like this way. Like, why do you think this is so cringe? You know, it's someone that is doing a pretty great performance, one that a lot of people cannot do at all, right? You know, the whole kind of singing aspect and things like that. Now, sure, maybe, you know, the model kind of dancing, maybe you could find that a bit cringe, but even then, they don't articulate that at all. They just go, oh, that's cringe, and then just kind of move on without kind of explaining why, which I think is pretty crazy. And then finally, as well, we got people like Sneeko who are reacting to this saying, be yourself, don't be AI slop, which I thought was pretty interesting, obviously, because we all know that VTubers are not AI, apart from Neurosama, I guess. But they say, this is not being yourself, why is this even here? Again, I think this guy just doesn't really understand, and yeah, I think that Sneeko, I don't know, he just kind of talks about things that he doesn't know about, and I think in this case, he definitely does not know about VTubing, calling it AI slop, saying this is not being yourself. If anything, I think actually being a VTuber is more being yourself than, you know, a lot of kind of places, right? I think it is as much so as IRL streaming. Now, obviously, yes, there's some VTubers that pretend to be someone else or whatever. Sure, it's easier to do so, but I think a lot of the time it sometimes helps them to express themselves even more in through kind of like model design, character design, lore, things like that, everything behind a VTuber, which allows them to actually be themselves even more so than maybe a person just regularly streaming would be, which again, I think is kind of ironic, right? And yeah, obviously it is just a ton of blind hatred towards VTubers without even really having any kind of, I guess, mental thinking behind it, right? And yeah, all of this kind of added up together just doesn't really feel good for the VTubing kind of space at all. You know, obviously alongside the VTuber Award category, which again is a completely separate topic, but I think the way that the Stream Awards have really handled this has been pretty poor. You know, obviously it's been great to see Ironmouse there and her doing a performance and things, but apart from that, that's about it. Everything else to do with VTubers has gone terribly. The announcement for it has gone terribly. People even reacting to the dance has gone terribly. People, you know, having their kind of, what do you call it, pictures put up, like the HoloLive organization picture, which should have been put up for the award, but they didn't. That's also gone horribly. So what's there left? Well, there's nothing, because there's no other VTubers or anything involved in the event, which I think is pretty crazy, considering how much they put them in that big clip montage, right? And, you know, hardly any of them are there. Obviously, Ironmouse, that was it, I think. And also Rose Doodle, that was it. But obviously, I don't know. It's weird. And obviously, we've talked about Doki Bird and how she should have been in there. And yeah, it's just a mess. And yeah, it's pretty insane. But I just kind of wanted to cover that because I thought it was very interesting. And yeah, I think the Stream Awards should have done better in terms of picking their announcers, in terms of, you know, making sure, again, in terms of the Jynxzi one, it's not the Stream Awards' fault. It's more so Jynxzi that, you know, should have kept himself in check or just kind of done something else during that time. But again, obviously he didn't. And well, that's just the kind of result of it. But yeah, that's essentially all I got. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to Game Subs, use my code Kazza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.